What is up, guys? Bobgar here, and it is closing thoughts time for 10 ticket modern Saheeli Sundial. Technically we went 4-1, but so there are two things that I wanted to point out. One, I recorded 2 matches before the 5 that I did here, and I had to ditch them because I had left my fan on, and so there's this loud noise in the background. So in those, I actually lost the first one, and the second one, the person left after game 2 when we were 1-1. So those didn't get posted. That would have affected the record a little bit. And then I also didn't post another one that somebody left that I wanted to at least mention. I thought about posting it. I was going to. I actually re-recorded a new video today just to have a 5th. And that's the one that you saw yesterday. I don't know why I'm saying today, like it's the day these things are getting posted. And we won that one, which was really good. But yeah, the one that the other person left was again 1-1. It was against Rats Tribal. The guy seemed very friendly and very nice. Seemed like a nice guy. Yeah, so that's why I say but there. It's like we did well, but I'm not convinced. I think we also, in addition to that, we also got some pretty easy matchups. We got one from Platinum Angel that was a deck that he was obviously working on tuning and things like that. So we didn't get all top tier decks. The Affinity player also, Affinity is obviously one of the best decks in the format, but that person obviously was in the practice lobby because he was practicing. I think he didn't quite know how to play Affinity yet, so we had a little bit of an easier matchup than we should have. If he knew how to move cranial plating around, I think game 1 he could have beaten us quite a few turns earlier because he had like 3 flying attackers and we only had 1 or 2 flying blockers, and we were at like 8 life, or I don't even remember, so he could have just moved the cranial plating, which was I think +8/+8 onto the right person, and I think just 1, but he didn't. So that's what happened. And so that's that. Let's talk about the good cards and the bad cards in the deck. I forced myself to choose 3, even though it was hard to choose 3 cards that were bad. It was hard to choose 3 cards that were good too, not because there weren't 3 cards that were good, because there were so many cards that were good and a lot of them were kind of close. For the bad, I chose Mist Meadow Witch. I think it can be good, but there's not good enough matchups. It's a little too slow in too many cases, and I don't think we ever used its activated ability once in any of our 5 matches that I posted. Mulldrifter, I mean, it was pretty useful to us a few times when we got it off, but it's just, again, it's a little too slow, and his interaction with Cloud Shift is very good, but his interaction with Sundial the Infinite is not super important. It saves you 1 mana, which does make Mulldrifter a much better card. A 4 mana Mulldrifter is a lot better than a 5 mana Mulldrifter, but still, it's not like game breaking. So that's the other one that I gave an X to, not because it was bad, just because I thought it was the weakest of the cards in the deck. And then the last one was Glorious End. Again, not that Glorious End was bad, it just, without Sundial, it is bad, and we only have 3 Sundials, and we don't have anything to really fetch out Sundials. Obviously, we have a little bit of card search in Sleight of Hand and some extra card draw, but that's our only way to get both in hand. So I think it's just, especially with both as a 3 of, a little too sketchy to do both of those. So those are the bads, and then the goods, they're all in a lineup there. Wall of Omens was just necessary for the deck. There was a lot of aggressive decks, and Wall of Omens is a good way to slow them down and buy us some time. So I felt like it was really important for that. And then it also just gets us redraws. I mean, it turns Cloud Shift into basically a 1 mana cycle if we really need to. It can turn Flicker Wisp into, again, a cycle if we really need to. I mean, better than a cycle, put in a 3/1 and draw a card. And same with Felidar Guardian. So, you know, it was just, it does what the deck needs. It's not the best card, but it's our best early option. Then Flicker Wisp probably gets top honors in the deck of just most impactful card in general. It has the best Sundial interaction, and then it also just works well with that Flicker package of Achroma and Wall of Omens. And it's good everywhere. There's basically never a hand you get where you see a Flicker Wisp and you're like, oh no, a Flicker Wisp. I mean, the only case where it's bad is if you don't have the double white to cast it, which is pretty rare. But we did have a little bit of mana trouble. Obviously, the deck would be a lot better with better mana, but Flicker Wisp still was an all-star, and it gets a checkmark. And then I went back and forth between whether to give the last checkmark to Felidar Guardian or to Saheeli. And I ended up choosing Felidar Guardian because Saheeli was mostly only good if we had the Felidar Guardian combo. It did help us get to it with some scries, which was nice, but I don't think we ever used the -2 to copy something and keep it with Sundial. It's a viable thing to do. I just don't think it happened in our matches that I can remember, and I have definitely done it before, but Oh, maybe I did do it once. I can't remember. But yeah, it wasn't super impactful. Whereas Felidar Guardian both was great for the combo, and then often we would just use it to blink a Flicker Wisp and then exile any permanent on their side of the field with Sundial. And sometimes we'd also just get redraws off a wall of omens. So a little bit like Flicker Wisp, it was just better overall in the deck. It comboed with more different things, whereas Saheeli Rai was mostly in there just for the Felidar thing, even though it does have the nice Sundial interaction, and obviously it smoothed our draw a little bit. So those were the winners and losers. I thought I was pretty happy with the deck. You know, for $13.50 for a deck that you realize it's not going to be top tier, but it's going to be pretty fun. It's hard to beat. If you buy it in paper, obviously it's like $80, which is starting to get a little expensive. But for a modern deck, I don't know if I would take it to Friday Night Magic or not, but it's super fun to play with friends for sure. And you probably wouldn't go 04 at Friday Night or 05 at Friday Night Magic or whatever. You'd probably go like 2-3 or so. But that's the deck. And then I want to talk a little bit about upgrades, although there's not a lot to talk about for upgrades. First, I think Serum Visions is better than the Sleight of Hands just because it smooths the draw a little deeper. So I think that could be pretty important. I think there are some better sideboard options than what we're running in white. Obviously, Rest in Peace and Leyline. We can't really afford to run Stony Silence unless we want to have a sideboard where we also take out all of our Sundials or something. Like swap out 3 Sundials, put in 3 Stony Silence, which admittedly might be worth it in the matchups where that's really good, because the deck definitely doesn't need Sundial to be good, but it would be a little weird. And then the biggest improvement for the whole deck is probably just the lane base. Lanes were definitely a little awkward. Some number of fetches and shocks are probably right. It might be right to get some fast lands. The most important ones are probably Flooded Strand, because that can get us either of our 2 most important colors, and then some number of Hollow Fountains, Steam Vents, and Sacred Foundries to make sure we can get whichever of the shock lands we want. And the last one I wanted to talk about is Geist has a cool interaction with Sundial as well, where you get to keep around the 4/4 Angel token as long as you're willing to end the turn at the end of combat when that token's exile trigger goes on the stack. And that is pretty sweet. I think it would be a good extra win condition for the deck. I might run it over Angel, maybe over Glorious End too, somewhere in there. Like, those are the 2 that I look at in the go. I'd probably replace with Geist. And I think Geist is just a little bit more fair and easier to do stuff with. And even if they're just going to block them on the ground when you attack in, just getting that 4/4 Angels is not terrible sometimes. So yeah, I like Geist as something that I don't know if it's better than what I have, but I would at least want to test it. I haven't had much of a chance to test it. It's quite possible there's other upgrades that you can find that you can think of. There's definitely a lot of ways to build this deck. So the version that Stark's dad originally showed me didn't actually have Saheeli Rai. It was just white-blue, which I think is also a pretty fun, interesting way to build the deck. And if you really like that kind of grind thing where you're destroying a lot of their lands, I think his version could work better than this one. It had not only Flicker Wisp, but also things like a few Reality Acids, which when you blink them can destroy whatever you have them on. It gives you a way to destroy stuff with Flicker Wisp without having to have the Sundial in hand. And it also had, well, I don't think it had it, but another thing you can do in that style of deck if you don't want Saheeli is put in... I think it's Glimmer Point Stag or something, the 3/3 Vigilance that has the same ability as Flicker Wisp. And that one, again, you do need Sundial or Reality Acid or something like that to make it good, but you don't need a Flicker Wisp to target like Felidar Guardian needs in order to do its triggery things. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, white-blue might be better in some ways, at least if you're really on, like, if you want to really be on that mana denial plan. Anyway, that's the deck for the week. I had a lot of fun playing it. I hope you guys had fun watching it. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, Bobgar here. I just really wanted to quickly say, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you enjoy my content in general and would like to see more of it, subscribe. I'll be coming out with more content in the future. And please leave me comments and let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, both in terms of production and in terms of my play and my deck building and all that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time.